Recording in progress.
None too.
And maybe this will record both of us at the same time,
Maybe we're
like I'm
about to find
trying to
out.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, if you're watching and it is doing that speaker view thing, but you know how to get it to
Oh,
record
yes.
gallery style, can you tell me how to do that? I could
Yes,
probably
I
look
do.
that up, but
I was going to say, yeah, we could also Google that. We could totally Google that.
you
And
know,
I was just going to say, to the entire purpose of this, like, I'm really proud of us for not being like, can't record until we figure out how to have both our faces side by side.
yeah,
Can't post
yeah.
this. Didn't get it right.
Right. This is supposed to be easy and chill and fun.
However, it turns out, it turns out.
It does. It does. So I wanted to get your opinions on this, and I think that this might be a helpful thing to like talk about here. I've been having a lot of discovery calls lately that people are coming to the call and they're really like lit up about talking to me about coaching, which is like, hey, that's cool. I'm always in for that. And I feel like they're bringing things that are very coachable. Like they've
Mhm.
got, I am here, I want to be here. Like a lot of people are, I'm here, I feel stuck. I want to get unstuck. I want to get to somewhere else. But what I'm noticing is that a lot of the people that I'm talking to don't have necessarily the grasp on what coaching is or what we do in this space.
Yeah,
You
classic.
know, yeah, classic, right. It's more like I want I think coaching is right. I think this is an avenue for me. I want to get unstuck. Am I going to walk away? Like, are you going to tell me how to get unstuck? Are you going to tell me what the plan is? Right. Like, I think I use it for accountability, but I feel like that's like the tip of the iceberg of what it is. Yeah. How do you respond to stuff like that, to those questions?
Well, okay. So, especially because I work in, oh, excuse me, I have my phone is reminding me to take some fiber, and
Oh, good.
I already had my fiber today, so I'm good.
On it.
Um, so especially because I work so much with people in the restaurant industry, a lot of times it's like managers, owners, business owners. Um, a lot of times they come in thinking that I'm a consultant, like I successfully ran a restaurant and I'm gonna tell them like the steps to take. And so I have started nipping that in the bud at like the very first conversation, as people are kind of talking me through what they're looking for, what they need, what they'd be working on. One of the first things that I always say is like, I want to be really, really clear that, I am not here to give you a plan. I am not here to tell you what to do. I know some people who do that work. If that's what you're looking for and that's what you're interested in, I would be happy to uh, pass you along to them as a referral. But the work that I do is much more, and I just kind of give them like the basics that we were taught in the programs. Like, you are in the driver's seat. This is about you coming with the topic that you want to talk about. I ask you questions in order to help you get access to wisdom that you already have, things that you already know, ways that you do want to go about finding the resources that you need in order to be able to create whatever it is that you're creating. And I kind of keep that short, but in the in the instances where I find that people still seem like they're not exactly sure if coaching is what they're looking for, I'll do an essence conversation with them. Um, for those of you who might be listening, an essence conversation is this proprietary conversation that Raven and I were both trained in the coach training program that we went through, that allows clients or potential clients to get like super, super clear about when they are showing up as their like best selves, ready to tackle the world, like ready to move their projects forward and make their lives happen. And when there are survival mechanisms or like learned behaviors that are getting in the way, and how to create practices to overcome those learned behaviors and overcome those like reactionary responses that keep us from getting what we want. Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I certainly don't have like a magic bullet. It's definitely like a different conversation each time to find out what people need in order to really grasp the work that it is that we do. Um,
Mhm.
because it is,
Yeah. And sorry, as you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I think sometimes I have a similar conversation and get to that point where it's like, you are the expert in your life. I am not the expert in your life. And I can almost, and like, I think a lot of times my inner judgment about that sometimes, but a lot of times it feels like I see them go, no,
I don't
I
want to
don't
be the
wanna.
expert. I want
Right?
somebody to tell me what to
Right.
do.
You don't know what's going on in here. You think that I have the answers, Raven, but I don't, And it's such an interesting conversation because it's like, look, Allie, you and I know that they do have the answers because
Yes.
we've been doing this for so long, but I also I remember being in the position and still, right, being in positions sometimes where I'm coached and I'm like, I don't got it. I don't
Yeah.
got it. It turns out I usually do, but I don't listen to that part of myself. And so I think that the getting, you know, having it's such a powerful thing and truly it is. It's like it is what we do. It is that we empower a client to understand and get really in touch with their inner wisdom, their essence, like you mentioned, right? Like that essence conversation is such a great one because it gets us clear on what is us and like what we bring to the party. And then what's the stuff that we put on, all those automatics, the defensiveness, even things that we don't consider as defensive necessarily,
Mhm.
but all of those learned behaviors that I like to think of are like, yeah, those are tools in your tool belt, but you're going through life using your hammer way more often than you need to. And sometimes you need a screwdriver and you don't have the facility with it, right? And and sometimes it's like, well, but this works for me. Yes, it does. But is that really what you want in this particular situation? And I think a lot of times the stuckness is coming from using old tools and they don't work right now for this particular situation. But telling a client that they already have the tool that they need, they just don't know how to use it yet. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why, and I think that it's so much why so often when, when coaches are talking to other coaches, especially those of us who have been in the business for longer, it's like, how do I explain to someone the value of coaching? It's like
Mhm.
you coach them.
Mhm.
That's like you coach them because it is so kind of esoteric and high level and a little bit like meta. It's a meta conversation because you so often end up having a conversation about the thing that you want to have a conversation about, and that's like what I just said sounds cuckoo. It sounds like
Mhm.
it's not a real thing. And you and I have both been I've been doing this for 8 years now. I think you're over 10, right? So
10. It's my
10.
10th year. Yeah.
And I think, you mentioned like I remember that feeling of like, no, 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 like you don't want me to be the expert. You don't want me to be in charge here. And one of the gifts I've received having had my own coach and doing my own work over the last 8 years is how many times I have given myself that opportunity to actually like slow down, look past all of the walls and the automatics and like really get in touch with myself and ask and be like, oh, oh, actually, okay, and sometimes it's not like the answer. Sometimes it's just like I have an instinct And that's the nice thing about, coaching. It's like 3 or 4 times a month. So I'm going to follow this instinct for the next week and see where it leads me. And then we can have a conversation about that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, what are those little instincts? What are those little things in the back of our minds that like our essence, our wisdom, the heart of who we are, our intelligence, whatever people want to call it, is saying like, give this a try. No, no, no. You've used the hammer 18 times already. Try the screwdriver.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're scared because we're like, I don't know how to use a screwdriver. It's like, oh, I just had an instinct that like maybe a screwdriver. So I'm going to try that for a week and then I'll come back and I'll let you know how it goes.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think that that's a good way of that's such a great thing to put in there of all of the check-ins, right? Is that yeah, you're going to go on a little adventure and you're going to use a screwdriver and it's going to feel weird and you're not going to be sure because right as we've talked about that before, right? It feels a little odd to do some of these things and to put yourself out there. And I think with good coaching at least, it's like I'm never going to ask you to do something that feels totally wrong to you, right? Because it is about you. It is about your instincts and in your inner wisdom. So in that way, it is truly a partnership. And I mean, I have clients every single week that go, ugh, I'm gonna do this. I don't like it, but I know I need to. And it's like, okay, well, you know, what do you need to be supported? What do you need to follow through on that? Why would you, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the bigger thing about all of this that is so important? And I think that that's also, that's one of those things that was curious about how you handle as well like is getting into that conversation about it's about more than this, right? People come to me a lot and they're like, I feel like I'm at this place in my career that I'm hitting a ceiling, that there feels like there's something else, right? That there's some stuckness there. And it's like, I want maybe a new job. And it's like, okay, this is about so much more than the new job. And yes, that too. But like, what do you see about that kind of conversation of like, we're going to take that and get 30,000 feet on it?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because so often I think just as humans, and that's the other, I'm going to quickly put in that like, as much as we're saying like client's in the driver's seat, client is in charge, and that's absolutely true. And also, we've been doing this for a combined 18 years. So like we've seen some shit. So we also have that capacity to say like, hey, I've actually heard like 15 people say the same thing that you've said. And in my experience, like it's pointing to like a defensiveness reaction. It's pointing to like you're throwing up a wall because you're afraid that you're going to get it wrong. So we do come in with some experience in this realm,
Mhm.
and to that point as well. So often we as humans think that we can like fix some sort of an inner experience that we're having by changing our outer circumstances. Like, yeah, I think it's time to get a new job. And really, I've got like 3 different career paths in front of me, and I just need to like decide which one is the right one. And by having the coaching conversation about that, so often it opens up realizations for people that like even those 3 paths are based on, well, this is what society has told me, the only things that society has told me I can take on from where I am. This is what I have to do in order to make my parents proud of me. This is what I feel like I have to do because I'm worried about making enough money to support my family. And we actually get to the heart of like, hey, like how come these three? How come these three? And oftentimes the answer is, well, it's not really these three. I just kind of felt like I had had to go in that direction. But if I'm truly honest with myself, like I want to go to clown college and be a clown, and like that's where my heart really lies. And in getting to have those conversations about like, hey, actually, when we leave the surface behind and really start to talk about like how I feel about myself as a person, how I feel about my relationships, how I feel about the kind of impact I'm making in the world and on my family and with my friends, and that the way that that makes me feel inside,
Mm.
it opens up so many different avenues that people didn't think were possible for them.
Hmm. Yeah. You brought up two things for me that pinged when you were saying that is one, how often we get into how often I've heard realistic come up. Well, these are the
Oh,
three options because they're realistic, right? I have to make decision, blah, blah, blah. And what you're talking about is, right, getting into a conversation that so many of us don't have or consider as the realistic option is the conversation that we have with our heart, like what our heart says, right? And just like you said, oh, my heart says go to clown college. I want to join the circus, right? Like this is what I really want to do. And then people will tell me why that's not realistic and why they certainly can't. And so the conversation starts to this is the elevation on it, right? That it's not about sure you can pick the option, right? Like that's fine. But getting to that, well, where does your heart play into the conversation? And how much does your heart guide you? What is the experience of the world that you are looking for? What is the experience of life that you are looking for? And rather than to say, well, I want the world to be like this, but let me tell you all the reasons that it cannot be based on things that are outside of my control. Well, that's a conversation I feel like we're all in multiple times a day.
right.
Right? But this conversation is how do I shape my life and actually have it be all the things that I want it to be? How does clown college become realistic in this circumstance? And then the other thing that it brought up was I've also had many people come to me, and when we finally get into that conversation about emotions, right? What you're talking about, how do you feel? How is this a heart-driven conversation? Like, if you get out of here and into here, what is that, right? People go, oh, well, I guess I need a therapist. And it's like, hold on, therapists don't have a monopoly on feelings, right?
Part of
Um,
I think that's part of the problem with our society today is it's like better keep my feelings boxed up until I get my
and
hour of therapy this week.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing I wanted to put out there in this conversation is that, so that it's there for whoever's watching this, is, therapy is amazing as well, right? And I'm glad
Absolutely.
that it's that it is so much more, I feel like respected, frankly, and utilized than it was even when we were kids. Like, I think that this is cool that as a society, we're focusing a lot more on mental health. The difference that we talk about a lot in coaching versus therapy is that therapy is a healing profession. It's going to go into the why you feel the way or you behave the way that you do, so that you can kind of go backwards. You can look at that. You can look at the root. And then you can heal from that experience to move forward. Coaching does not go backwards very often. Um, Not ever, but very, very often it does not focus on the past and it stays in the present and the future. We look at our clients as able to create from exactly
Mhm.
who they are, whole and complete, as what we say. That doesn't mean that you're not also working with a therapist to support those aspects of you, but that you are the way that you are and we're looking at the present into the future. So we're looking at working with, again, the tools that you have to move forward into the future that you want and not to go backwards to heal things. So all of those feelings, all of those emotions, those are all still incredibly valid and very important to talk about in a coaching relationship. You're just going to talk about them a little bit differently than you would in a therapeutic relationship.
Yeah, actually, I know you and I were talking about this right before
Yeah.
we hit record, and I feel like it's so relevant that like the conversation I was having with my coach literally last week. For those of you who know me well, know me personally, I'm going through some stuff right now, including like some medical stuff. My hormones, my emotions are like,
Mhm.
and the conversation that I ended up having with my coach, the question that we were exploring was, how do I be not fine? Because like I wanted to acknowledge my reality so often over the last couple of weeks, I have not been okay. I've been crying. I've been low. I have not been okay. And how do I let myself not be fine without it taking up more minutes or energy than it actually needs? So that is that, like, we don't need to go like talk to my doctor. And I like I have a therapist. I'm getting therapeutic support for the emotional side of things that are coming up that might need healing. But like we don't have to go back into the like, well, what's causing the emotions and what do you think about them? It's like, no, 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 no. It's just enough to know that I'm having them and they are requiring something of me. And how do I continue to move forward, creating the experience of life that I want and the projects that I'm committed to alongside of this experience that I'm having?
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for sharing that. I thought, right before we pushed the record button, like that was so profound. And the other thing that I saw in you when you said it, it was like, it wasn't just like that you had that question, it was that you got to that question
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
that was the relief almost. Because I think that that's it a lot as we come to coaching, clients come to us and it's all tangled up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my gosh, I just feel, ugh, and it's stuck and it's right. And there's all this stuff. And even getting to in the coaching conversation, what is the thread, right? Like pulling it all out to be like, what is the question? What is the thing that's at the root of all that tangled upness? And that, I mean, I saw it when you said it that time and the first time. It's like the release and just being like, oh my God, I know what the question is.
What
Like,
I've been trying to figure
yeah,
out all week.
yes. And now I can actually do something with it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because I can look at it clearly. And I think that that's such a powerful thing about what we do. So thank you for sharing that very personal example for you. Yeah. So I think we like wrap up here because we've been going. I mean, like we can talk about coaching requests and like what is coaching for a long time. But I want to say if you are watching this, because we know now that some people are, and
Watching this.
that's
Thanks.
cool.
Thanks.
Thank you. We like you so much. And I think if I do this, my Zoom will make hearts. It does.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Let's do that. You
Yeah,
keep
can
talking.
you?
I'm just gonna
Okay. Um, but so if you are watching this and you want to talk about what your goals are and how coaching could actually support that in a different way, other than, I mean, making a plan to, I'm sorry that that doesn't work for you, Ellie. She's trying. If you can't, if it's only on me right now, we don't know. But if you do have a goal in mind, and then or you're feeling stuck and you're not sure what your goal is, but you know that you're needing movement, Allie and I, either one, are so happy to talk to you about, just how you're feeling and where you want to go and how to maybe empower coaching in your own life to move you forward. And if that would be a good tool for you. And you're, I'm sure both of us will work with you if you want to go down that road. Or we also have a network of other coaches that we can connect you with if you are looking for something that's a little bit different than our style. But I think for the most part, it's just like I would love to support people in discovering the power of this, to be able to really like trust their inner wisdom. People are so amazingly gifted and wise. And I think so much of it is hiding.
Yeah, and it's like the more kind of disconnected we become with technology, I think it's like there are no shortage of opinions out there about like how we should live our lives. And even having just like 1 hour a week that a person gets to dedicate to like shutting all of that out and listening like here and here and here. Like, what do I say life gets to look like?
Mm,
Who cares whether everybody else says that that's realistic or how life is supposed to be?
love it. Love it. Bye, everybody.